The Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds, Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans, High Stick NT, and the Manitoba Pulse and Soybean Growth.
Bernard Tobin here for RealAgriculture.com, coming to you today from Ridgetown, Ontario, and we're at the BASF research site and joined by Drew Thompson, BASF. Sir, thanks for stopping by or letting us drop by.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Hey, today we're going to talk about Dicamba tolerance, and specifically in soybeans, and a new trait, a new technology that's coming to the market. Not here yet, but we're going to have a look at some research plots and talk about, how effective it's going to be and where it fits in the toolbox. So, Drew, from a BASF perspective, where do you guys fit in this picture?
Well, that's a great question. So basically, a big kudos and a big shout out to the plant breeders for the ability to bring this trait into the soybean plant, and so that's what the seed companies are doing. But what we're doing is we're working in the chemistry side. So we've been working with Dicamba either through BASF or through some of the acquisition companies, back to the 1950s. So we've been working with this for a long time. We understand this molecule, we know this molecule, and what we want to learn is how does this molecule going to help farmers when they've got access to this trait, the DT soybeans. And so, like you said, great analogy. It's a tool in the toolbox. We want to make sure we know how to use this tool in this particular situation.
So let's talk about that toolbox. Where does it fit? What's it going to do for farmers?
So the big thing that guys are thinking about right now is around the glyphosate-resistant weeds, right? We had glyphosate. You came in. A little bit was good, a lot was better, and we used it, and unfortunately we started to break it. We now have resistance. We've got these numerous weeds in Ontario that are resistant to glyphosate, and so that powerful tool that farmers had has now been removed from their toolbox, and so we think that this Dicamba is going to help replace it. And so it has a good fit in a lot of situations, very, very strong on broadleafs, and right now that's what we have. The glyphosate-resistant weeds in Ontario are broadleaf weeds, and so what we want to see is how well does this work, what sort of rates do we need, what sort of timing do we need to apply it at to control those weeds now that we don't have glyphosate for control.
Right. And it's all about multiple modes of action and flexibility and options for farmers, right?
Well, that's a great one. So the multiple mode of action. So we're going to get a chance to go through the plot and we'll see, hey, this is a very effective tool on a lot of these species. We're here at a glyphosate-resistant fleabane site. It works great, but that's one mode of action, and that's how you break it. You put that tremendous selection pressure on a single mode of action, and eventually Mother Nature is going to win, right? They have the ability to make all that genetic variations, and boom, it can happen. So what we want to show is, hey, how does this work? How does it work with different modes of action? What's the best fit? What's going to control that weed quickly, effectively, provide other management options, and how do we do that? And so that's what we're testing here.
Yeah. So that being said, when your testing is done, it's got to come to market. Where is it in the pipeline now? I know you've got approval in Canada, some approvals in the US, but it's not coming to market just yet. Where are we?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't have the answer for you. Unfortunately, we don't know. And so right now, as you said, it's approved basically in North America, but some of our key export countries where we would be sending our soybeans, our meal, our oil, they don't have the approval yet. And until those export countries do have that approval, basically everyone industry-wide has said, whoa, we're just going to sit tight with it. We're not going to bring it to the market until such a time. I don't know the exact timeline, and that's all I can say at that.
Yeah, but we've got to do some work. We've got to figure out where it fits.
Absolutely.
And where it works. And what we're going to do with Drew now is going to walk through the plots and take a little tour of the different applications and see how it's working.
Okay, so where we're starting right now is we've got the first treatment where what we did is we applied glyphosate before planting. And so you can see the glyphosate does give a little bit of a kick, but obviously does not kill it, and that's what we're dealing with, glyphosate-resistant Canada fleabane. And the other thing you get a chance to look at is we're dealing with tremendous pressure, lots and lots of weeds here. So we take that as our base. This is what some guys are using. It doesn't work. So let's go a little bit further down, and now what we've got is we've taken that same glyphosate and we've added in a 1x rate of Dicamba. So for those of you that are familiar with Banville 2, this would be a 1/4 liter per acre. And we look through there and we can see, hey, we've got some good control. We can still see some green in there, and we're starting to see, so yeah, this works. It has great activity on it, but it's slow. The other thing we start to see is we see some grasses popping up, and that's one of the things. Dicamba is basically a broadleaf product. It does not have any sort of activity on the grass weeds, and so we can start to see some of the strengths and weaknesses of it. So we go from here, and now we jump over a couple, and we come into a 2x rate. And so with a 2x rate, we do find that there is definitely an effect to higher rates. We see that the weeds are much less green. They've basically been burnt off much faster. We still see some of those grasses coming through. So even at that 2x, or that half liter per acre of Banville equivalent, it's not providing the grass control. So we look at it, we say, wow, it's doing a great job on the fleabane, which was our main one, but we also start to say, hey, there's some other things popping up here that sort of have to think, okay, this is not a standalone, this is not a product that's just going to do it all by itself. Okay, so now we've come a little bit further down the plot, and now what we've done is we've taken that base of glyphosate, we've added in our 1x rate of dicamba, and now we've brought in the Kixor molecule via the Optil product. And what we can see here is basically it looks like pavement clean. We've burnt those weeds off fast. We've provided some residual control with the pursuit component of the Optil. We had that incredible control from the dicamba on the glyphosate-resistant Canada fleabane, and we've got just a perfect looking field. And that's what we want, right? We've controlled the weeds. We showed we could control the weeds down there, but it was slow. It had some other weeds flushing through. Here we provide management options as well. Not only are we controlling it, not only are we controlling it with multiple modes of action so that we're not allowing for that selection pressure, but we're also controlling all the other weeds that are flushing through. And on a year like this, as we may remember, we've had 3 weeks of rain. And if you had to get out there and do some post-emergent spraying, and that was the only thing you had was the post-emerge, nothing pre-plant, you're in trouble. You start losing yield and everything else like that happens. This is providing good effective control. It's also providing management options for those post-emergent applications.